election in 2008 or in 2012. And I think that this is going to have far-reaching implications, not just for the stability of various countries throughout the Muslim world, but also for Western society, because there will be blowback from this. There is a price to pay. We, and I say we because as Americans we pay taxes, we're also responsible for it. The same is true here in Britain. We are sending a message to a generation, a whole generation of young Muslims, that the United States and its allies are in a war against their religion. And whether it's true or not, that is the perception in many areas of the world. And there is no effective pushback against that when you have drones constantly flying overhead, and children are raised in households where their parents will jokingly say to them, if you don't behave, I'm going to send a drone to get you. The same way that we would be frightened by the boogeyman when we were kids, or our parents would say something. That's how deeply ingrained now it is in the psyche of many young people living in areas where there are drone attacks. So this is going to continue on. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, as we say in the film. It is creating a whole new generation of enemies. And those enemies of the US or Britain, of those governments, are not necessarily going to be terrorists. They are going to be people with a legitimate score to settle because their family members were killed, or their mosque was blown up, or their entire livestock supply was taken out. We are killing far less actual terrorists, far fewer actual terrorists, than we are creating new enemies, including people with a legitimate score to settle. If all of us don't, at some point or another, make it part of our daily lives to confront this, then it's going to continue on and on. I don't know British politics as well as I do American politics, but I'll tell you this in closing. The entire American political system is bought and paid for by huge corporations. And those corporations are the only beneficiaries of what they call the war on terror. The Lockheed Martins, the Boeings, the Halliburtons, the Bechtels, the Blackwaters, the DynCorps, the Triple Canopies. There were 670 corporations at one point on the payroll of the United States during the Iraq occupation. More private soldiers than there were actual US troops on the ground. Those corporations can purchase members of the United States Congress in a legalized form of corruption known as campaign finance. In some countries you have to bring a suitcase of cash and give it to the dictator. In America you just make something called a campaign contribution. And the US political system will never produce a political leader who will ever effectively stand up against that system or against the military-industrial complex. So at the end of the day, it's not about who you elect, it's about what you do before and after election day. And it's about addressing the role of corporations in our lives, because they actually are the ones fueling all of the violence that we see in this film and that I tried to document in the book. So I'll shut up now and thank you, and be happy to hear any questions, comments, or if someone wants to yell at me or give me their conspiracy theory, I'm happy to hear that too. Also, I want, if we can have gender diversity in the questions, because a lot of times men tend to kind of just push their way there through. Okay, let's start with you. Yeah, go ahead.